Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak at NASSCOM's International SME Conclave. My name is Dr. Mike Short. I'm working for the UK government in the Department for International Trade, where I act as the Chief Scientific Advisor. But I also bring 30 years in telecommunications, including many early stage trials in India, as well as in other countries in the world. I'm also a former chairman of the Global GSM Association and was very proud to help establish the Indian Interest Group many years ago within the GSM Association. Today, I'm going to talk about UK priorities in 5G, particularly from a UK context for SMEs, trying to help develop the 5G-based mobile industry with some of the lessons we've learned here in the UK that may be useful in an Indian context. Next slide, please. I thought I'd start with some of the evidence from the GSM Association. That's the body that represents mobile operators worldwide. Their mobile economy report, released last year, gave figures for 2020 and 2025. That showed that there were around 5.2 billion unique users, rising to a forecast 5.7 billion by 2025. The total number of SIM cards or smart cards in use, though, suggests that many people carry more than one mobile device, and their figures for individual subscriptions or SIM connections rises from 8.1 billion to 8.8 billion. This is showing an increased share in favor of smartphones, but also an increased share in terms of 4G and 5G. When we look at their forecasts for 4G, they were expecting those to rise from 56% of the global base to 57% by 2025, but 5G to represent close to 21% or 1.8 billion by 2025. So 5G is becoming a growing market share within these forecasts, and these figures are likely to be updated with the latest Mobile World Congress taking place this same week as NASSCOM. Those figures, I'm sure, will suggest that the 1.8 billion may well reach 2 billion by 2026 or thereabouts. India has a great opportunity to be part of this global journey, both for Indian domestic use as well as for international use. The size of the opportunity is enormous when we look at the total revenues shown for the global industry back in 2020, exceeding $1 trillion and likely to rise by 2025 to $1.15 trillion. These mobile subscription figures also exclude the bigger opportunity in the Internet of Things, which I'll come back to later. But please use these figures at your leisure as a backdrop to the market understanding. Next slide, please. Because I'm talking about 5G, I thought it'd be helpful to have one chart on what is 5G. And I think through standardization, we've seen a focus on this particular pyramid of usage scenarios. At the top of the pyramid is the most extensively talked about area of enhanced mobile broadband, offering speeds up to gigabytes per second. In terms of opportunities, though, at the bottom left-hand side, we can see massive machine type or IoT communications. In addition to that, at the bottom right-hand side of the pyramid, we see an emphasis on ultra-reliable and low latency communications. All of these services could be provided in a public network or in a private network based on these technologies, but there are some examples within the pyramid of applications, as you can see down the different sides of the triangle. So you can see the higher speed will offer much higher rates of video delivery, or perhaps work and play in the cloud and augmented reality. We can also imagine on the bottom right-hand side much more in the way of robotics and self-driving cars and managing things remotely. And on the bottom left-hand side, we can see the opening up of smart city type concepts because of the massive capacity that comes with 5G. So sometimes I like to summarize 5G as bringing in more capacity and capability, as well as the rich services that one might expect. This should be available to Indians from late 2022, but needs a big build-out program and huge ecosystem backing. And this therefore represents an opportunity for many SMEs in the public network or in the private network space. Next slide, please. In the UK, we've had a 5G innovation network running now for 3 years, and that's been very helpful to support the development of the UK 5G ecosystem, including SMEs. It's also been very helpful to manage information and share learning about the opportunities that come with mobile development and the internet development and the rich services set. This will touch every sector in society, so the opportunities are enormous. It's also a facility to help promote the capabilities of UK 5G internationally, and I'm pleased to be on its steering board. It's supported by the UK government, and in addition to that, it has strong backing from CW, the particular trade association called CW, Cambridge Wireless as it used to be known, the knowledge transfer network we have here in the UK, and the TM Forum, which is a specialist in operating and base station subsystems. Next slide, please. Some of the evidence that you could see in time could be useful to you if you look at UK 5G by numbers. So I sit on the advisory board, and I also am co-chair of the International Committee of UK 5G. These 8 working groups support different aspects of 5G promotion and collaboration, whether it be local enterprise, manufacturing, connected places or creative industries, or some of the others that are shown there. We have a strong focus on climate and the environment, but in addition to that, we have now over 1,800 organizations involved with this, fortnightly newsletters, and a very active website. If you need more on some of the trials and test beds, do have a look at uk5g.org, which actually gives you an opportunity to order a regular magazine or see updates on some of our trials and test beds. But I'll say a little bit more about this on the next slide. Next. We offer a 5G supplier directory, which is very helpful. We started this just under 2 years ago. And initially, we just listed some 26 companies, but I'm pleased to say it's now over 130 companies that are listed. They're not all British, some are international, but it's very helpful to see some of the suppliers and their descriptions. It's a free directory. It's not paid for or anything like that. It's a free directory. And we use it to actually help promote not just the British companies, but some of the active suppliers who are involved in our trials and test beds. Some of them might be useful partners for Indian companies. Next slide, please. We also can see the market developing very rapidly. Now in the UK, we have close to 90 million subscribers in the UK of cellular services, of which a growing share is 5G. But we can see 5G opening up new markets when it comes to productivity for UK business, or better health and social care systems, the opportunity to improve transport and manage it better, the possibility of dealing with industry-specific targets, whether it be in private networks or public networks, the possibility of improving social welfare and isolation, reducing it in rural communities, and also some opportunities to save money in certain places, but grow sectors in other areas. Creative industries are particularly strong in this area, so I'd expect good opportunities for Bollywood via mobile in India as well. Next slide, please. In urban communities, we often think about smart cities and how to make the cities smarter and more efficient, to reduce congestion, which tends to look at connected cars and connected vehicles, monitoring a city for congestion to help minimize it, but also to help improve air quality and improve the environment more generally. Many cities also have some smart grid services or some environmental services that may make the welfare and enjoyment of a city so much better. We've had some major tourist type trials where 5G is offered insights into travel and tourism and heritage. Thinking about smart cities needs to be thought about for everybody in the smart city, however big or small the city is, however congestion orientated it may be. Next slide, please. It's also very important to think about coverage, and clearly with the vast country that is India, it's very important to think about that rural dimension. Clearly access to healthcare or transport or indeed rural industries may depend on connectivity. So thinking about how do you maximize the coverage for rural areas is vital for these key sectors. Vital to consider how you actually manage this, not just from a network point of view, but also from a service point of view. We also see clearly rural areas underserved, perhaps by young people. So thinking about how do we deal with aging populations, needs and their particular connectivity need to be taken into account. Next slide, please. Now, this is a very busy slide, and you'll be pleased to hear I'm not going to go through all of it, but there are more details on the website I referred to earlier on, uk5g.org. But what you can see is a strong mixture of trials, some over 40 trials that we've run in the last 3 years or so, whether it be with urban test beds or rural projects, but specifically quite a lot of approaches to do with manufacturing, to make factory manufacturing more efficient, quite a few areas to do with health and social care, quite a few areas to do with creative and media industries, and also a lot to do with transport, freight, ports and logistics. These are backed up by a lot of technology trials, so there are lots of lessons that can be taken from these trials that we've already run, which could be very helpful when India launches 5G later this year. Next slide, please. And just in case you think I'm just talking about sectors, there's a lot of technology and knowledge behind this, whether it be to do with the Internet of Things, whether it be to do with some of the new technology facets of Open RAN and software-defined radio. Some of these technologies are certainly worth looking at in more depth because they bring advantages of cost reduction and collaboration and opening up new markets. And that really is the size of the prize. 5G is here to stay. 5G will be a major market for many companies. And 5G is much more than a network. It's much more about sectorial change and industrial development, particularly for the business community. But it needs to have coverage in mind, whether it's urban or rural. Next slide, please. So I'm conscious that this has been a very rapid run through of some of the activities we've been running over the last 3 to 4 years. But we do have people as DIT within India who are able to give more personal and direct feedback. So please don't hesitate to contact some of those local DIT-based contacts. Don't hesitate to use some of the website details I've given you with these slides, or some of the online resources available through great.gov.uk. It's been my pleasure to talk with you today, and I'm really looking forward to my next visit to NASCOM and indeed India. I miss the travel and the experience of that contact. Thank you very much for listening to me.